Hey everyone, welcome into Attacking Third. It's Wednesday, so you've got Sandra Herrera, Lisa Carlin, chatting everything women's football for you. We have a big show today. We're continuing our countdown to Kansas City segments where we take a look at every past NWSL final. This time, we're talking about the 2015 NWSL Championship. We have a very special interview today, a former U.S. Women's National Team player, NWSL player, Super League player, everyone. She's played everywhere. I'm not ruining it yet, though. You have to stick around to find out who it is that joins us. We have another Hall of Legends induction, and of course, our In Case You Missed It segment will round out the show with our news and notes. Sandra, it's good to see you. It's Wednesday. We're rocking kits today. What are you wearing?
Shocking, Lisa. I'm rocking another Mexico jersey. And look, anytime we get an opportunity to rock kits, I'm going to try to rock and show off my Mexico kit collection. And of course, we're still celebrating, Hispanic and Latina Heritage Month here. So I'm just like, let's keep it moving. But I like this one. I feel like this is a kit that didn't get so much love. It like showed off the new crest. It's got like so much good design on it, and we just keep continuing to see this team struggle in these beautiful kits. What can I say?
That was the kit that they needed to just go on and win everything because then everyone would have seen it, because that kit is sick that you're wearing, that Mexico one. When is that from? 2023?
I want to say like 2021 almost, like coming out of like early height of pandemic. But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I really like it. Obviously, honoring Hispanic Heritage Month and everything. We're continuing to celebrate that here at Attacking Third. If you've seen my hands waving around the screen, you notice I'm wearing a long sleeve kit. I am rocking a New Jersey, New York, Gotham FC goalkeeper kit. I do have the star above my logo. So this is post-championship. And as though as much as I love every single keeper in this league, it was so cool that not once, but twice, a field player had to step in goal for Gotham FC. And that was the only midfielder, Neely Martin. She did it in the championship. She did it prior to that, too, in August of 2023. She's just ready to go. So I'm rocking a Neely Martin Gotham goalkeeper kit. It's not, I wish I could say it's one of a kind, but it's really not. Gotham did a great job of being like, hey, Martin stepped in goal. We're going to sell her keeper kits. So a lot of people have them. Shout out to our producer, Mark. He's also has one of the few, but really cool. It's awesome. So before we get into our huge show that we have today, Sandra, we've been recognized again. Thank you, everyone who listens, watches, streams, tunes into us. The Football Content Awards have recognized us, and Attacking Third is nominated in the category The Best in Women's Football. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We've been chosen, Sandra, from over 36,000 nominations, and now it's down to the final vote, and it is up to the fans, the listeners, everyone joining us live on YouTube, watching on Golazo Network. If you're with us on YouTube, there will be a link in the chat. You can scan the screen right now for a QR code. It is in our podcast description. Vote for us. Follow us on socials at Attacking Third to find the link and continued updates on the voting. Vote for Attacking Third in the Best in Women's Football. You can vote until Sunday, October 13th. This is super cool. And Sandra, one of the coolest parts about it is that the 2024 Football Content Awards event is taking place at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in November 21st. So maybe if we win, we can get out there to England. That would be pretty cool to see this. Great. Thank you, everyone, for listening, watching, streaming, everything that you do to help grow this show. We so appreciate it. We can't thank you enough. Make sure you vote for us. Countdown to Kansas City, this awesome segment that we are doing. We get to take a look back at all the NWSL championships, and this time we're taking a look back at 2015, the NWSL Final. It took place for the first time at a neutral site in NWSL history. It was in Portland, Oregon at Providence Park, and it happened on October 1st, 2015. It was a 6:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff on a Thursday. So not the greatest. Hey, we've gotten better. This year, the NWSL Championship is taking place at CPKC Stadium in Kansas City. You can watch it on CBS, 8 p.m. Eastern in prime time. But in this final in 2015, Sandra, it was Seattle Reign against FC Kansas City. Seattle Reign finished first in the league. They won the Shield for the second time in a row. Kansas City finished third in this regular season standings leading into it. So then the top 4 teams went into the playoffs, but Kansas City, they had the top goal scorer, and the top assist for their team was Amy Rodriguez, who finished with 6 goals, 4 assists. She was the Utah Royals head coach at the start of this season. Meanwhile, for Seattle, it was Kim Little. The Kim Little show all year in 2015. She was tied for second in the Golden Boot race. She had 10 goals, but she led the league with 7 assists. In the semifinals of the playoffs, Kansas City took on the Chicago Red Stars. FCKC absolutely dominated 3-0. A-Rod had a brace in that match. And then for Seattle, they played against the Washington Spirit in the semis. Seattle also won by a score of 3-0, but all the scoring came at the end of the game, the 71st minute or beyond. And then they were able to shut out for Washington Spirit Crystal Dunn, who ended up being the Golden Boot winner in 2015. She had 15 goals that season. Crystal Dunn in her early years, we'll do an episode on her one day, absolutely electric. Rookie of the Year, Golden Boot winner, a legend. Let's take you through the starting lineup. Sandra, take us through FC Kansas City and who they rolled out with to start this 2015 final.
Yeah, let's go. They had Nicole Barnhart, Annette Leanne Brown, Amy LaPelbit, Becky Sauron, Becca Moros, Jen Bukowski, Mandy Laddish, Erica Timrak, Heather O'Reilly, and Amy Rodriguez and Lauren Holiday to round out their starting 11. Plenty of familiar names there who had already won an NWSL championship in 2014, but a sprinkling of some new names and really some familiar names to get a shot with Kansas City for a second title.
One of very familiar names, manager Vlatko Andonovski. They had won the 2014 NWSL championship. So it was a rematch, not only of the teams, but of the managers too, for Vlatko Andonovski. For Seattle Reign, that team was led by Laura Harvey, but they lined up in goal Hope Solo, Kendall Fletcher, Rachel Corsi, Lauren Barnes, Steph Cox, Keelan Winters, Kim Little, Jess Fishlock, Merritt Mathias, Megan Rapinoe, and Bev Yanez. Absolutely cool to see some of these very familiar names. Merritt Mathias listed as a forward. We now know her as a lockdown defender. She's currently in Angel City playing with them. Haven't seen her in a minute due to some injuries, but it's really cool to look back at some of these names that continue to play and are still in the league, still absolutely balling. We touched on referees last week. Katya Koroleva, who was a part of the 2014 referee crew for the 2014 final, she was now the head referee of this final. So moving on up in the world. Now, this 2015 NWSL final between FC Kansas City and Seattle Reign was a rematch, the sequel to 2014, but things went Kansas City's way again. Kansas City ends up winning 1-0 to Seattle Reign in the 2015 final, clinching back-to-back NWSL championships. The lone goal in this match for FCKC didn't even come until the 78th minute. It was A-Rod, who had led Kansas City all year with her goal scoring, who gets on the board for Kansas City. She uses her head, which didn't always happen for A-Rod this year, but she finds the header back of the net, the assist coming from Heather O'Reilly. I mean, the buildup of this play was absolutely fantastic because it started in the midfield with Lauren Holiday on the ball. She sends it wide to Heather O'Reilly, who then crosses it into A-Rod. And for Kansas City to win this and Vlatko Andonovski to win it its second year in a row, it's so special. But for midfielder Lauren Holiday, this was her last professional match. She had talked about ahead of the season after the 2015 Women's World Cup that she was going to retire at the end of this year. So not only does she get to retire, but she gets to lift a trophy and play in her final game. Throughout this match, there's one thing that I want to just touch on, the juxtaposition between the 2014 NWSL final, also between Seattle and Kansas City with huge names on their rosters. But in 2015, the attendance had gone up 3 times what it was in 2014. So in 2014, it was 4,252 people at the NWSL Final. In 2015, it was 13,265 because the 2015 final had come just a few months after the U.S. women's national team had won the 2015 Women's World Cup. The world was on a women's soccer high, and NWSL tried to continue to ride that through the final. And you see such an influx of attendance in all the players that came out and watched it. But Sandra, we got FC Kansas City winning back-to-back NWSL championships.
You love to see it. And listen, I think it's an important shout that you gave there on the attendance, because for me, as we keep taking this journey through championship finals, this is where we start to see some of the changes come in the league when it comes to this type of event, that they wanted this to be the marquee event of the league at the end of the year. It's the thing that they wanted to celebrate as their Super Bowl. And the attendance note is really, really important, because the first two finals we see kind of just go to the higher seed. And then now we start to see finals pivot to a pre-selected sort of neutral territory moving forward in the league. And the honors went to Portland in this game. And so this match not only had tripled in attendance, but it's because of probably the facility that it was able to be held in, and that it's in Providence Park. And so you have that already as a main changing point. But again, I love the fact that it was a repeat of these two teams, and one of them being Seattle, because Lisa, this game being in Portland meant that there was a huge turnout for folks who just wanted to tap into their inner hater. I mean, if you look back at this game, listen, everyone has an inner child, but you also have an inner hater. Everybody should feed the hateration every once in a while. And you could see back on some of the footage of this game, you see so much cool support from just like Thorns fans who want to show up and support women's soccer. They want to just show up and support the biggest game in the league. You see River supporters just sort of like having scarves that say like blue for a day, just rooting on Kansas City because they refuse to see Seattle lift the main trophy on their home soil. So I love that. I think it's a great note for you to point out.
Yeah, very cool. Ultimately, Kansas City and A-Rod get the game-winning goal in the 78th minute to give FC Kansas City their second straight NWSL championship in 2015. Okay, that's it for our recap, Sandra, you and I. But we have a very special guest joining us next to talk specifically about this 2015 final. Stick around. You are not going to want to miss this interview. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. So we just finished, Sandra, our big 2015 countdown to Kansas City NWSL recap. KC wins, the now defunct FC KC wins 1-0 over Seattle Reign. And we thought, you know what? We're talking about these games. You and I are rewatching them before we get into it. But what would be better than having someone who was at that game talk about it? No, scratch that. Even better, someone that played in that game. No, Sandra, I will one-up you again. Someone who got the game-winning assist in 2015 in Kansas City on the show. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Drum roll, please. Midfielder Heather O'Reilly joins Attacking Third. Heather, welcome in. How are you?
Thank you, ladies. It's nice to be here. And hey, anytime I can talk about the glory days, I will do so.
Gotta get it in. Gotta let the youth know.
You do a lot of media, and I'm sure people talk about some of the other accolades you have, and they don't always lead off with 2015 NWSL Championship assister to the game-winning goal, because there is a lengthy list. You've got the 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup champion, 3-time Olympic gold medalist. You won the College Cup with UNC a couple of times. You won NWSL championship 3 times, the Shield 2 times. the list goes on and on and on. But we're talking about the 2015 NWSL Championship with FC Kansas City. What do you remember about that match?
Yeah, well, I remember it really well. I guess I'll rewind a little bit and just talk about why it was meaningful to me. Of course, I love winning stuff, no doubt, but I had been playing with the Boston Breakers for a number of years before that. And truthfully, it was a tough time of my life just because, yeah, the Boston Breakers were not that good. And then we made a coaching change with Jill Ellis coming into the national team, and things were like very up in the air for a lot of people, including myself. And so it just I wasn't at a good place playing with Boston. So I essentially orchestrated a trade. And I was pretty much up for just going anywhere where I would feel valued and in a healthy playing environment. And Vlatko Andonovski and company at FC Kansas City just came off a win of their own. And they were like, okay, in order for us to keep winning, we need to add layers. And so it was the perfect fit because I needed a new place. They needed some fresh, I think, ingredients to their concoction that they had. And so, yeah, like what a perfect marriage. And we had just an absolute blast in 2015. I still am very close with Vlatko Andonovski. We always kind of hit it off as a player coach duo, and then playing with Becky Sauerbrunn and Amy Rodriguez, who were also on the national team at that time. And we said in the beginning of the year, we're going for the double. And at that point for us, that meant the World Cup and winning for club and country for us was the ultimate double in one season. And we did it. And I remember after the game, like the three of us are hugging and Cheney. How can I forget about Lauren Cheney? Wait, she was on that team, right? Yeah.
Lauren Holiday. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Lauren Holiday. So A-Rod, Cheney, Holiday, Becky, and myself. So we did the ultimate double. The game itself, though, I remember well because Seattle was quite good. They, of course, had Megan Rapinoe. They had Hope Solo. It was like a punch for punch kind of game. And yeah, late in the match, for whatever reason, I made my way over to the left-hand side and lofted in across to A-Rod. She doesn't tend to head the ball that much. And I don't cross with my left too much. But anyways, it was a left-footed cross to an Amy Rodriguez head, past Hope Solo, and it was enough for us to hang on. But it was a tough match, definitely. And Kim Little was on the team. She was obviously such a threat. But yeah, it was a thrilling win. It was a thrilling win and capped off a good year for us. I know that like Amy Rodriguez and myself didn't play very much in the World Cup. So I think that coming back from that, we were really sort of driven to make an impact at the club level. And we did just that with winning the NWSL title.
Subtle.
Yeah,
right? Just no big deal. I appreciate you being so kind of open and transparent about sort of your arrival to Kansas City, because that's part of, I think, why we're enjoying this particular series that we're doing on A3, where we're kind of revisiting these very early championship moments, because there's rightfully so a lot of celebrating of the direction of where the league is now going versus where it's been. But it's important to not forget about where it's been, because there were pockets of that time where it was not so great, as you mentioned. So can maybe kind of staying with that a little bit, could you maybe speak a little bit more to kind of that arrival from Boston to Kansas City? How much of it for you was like a fresh start or a new opportunity? How much of it was maybe even more of the same, because maybe there was layers of that too when you're going from franchise to franchise in these early eras of NWSL?
Well, anybody that knows Vlatko knows that like he's known for being like a nice guy, a good guy that at the club level we can say what we want about obviously his tenure with the national team, but at the club level was just steady and something I needed at the time, steady, and the team was very solid, right? So I think I'm not a Midwest kind of gal. Like I am East Coast through and through. And there was a brief stint in like Southern California when the US national team was based there. But like in general, like I know nothing about the middle of America, and I didn't even care because I was just like, I'm here for the football. Literally. I'm like, it was a World Cup year. It was really important for me to like get wins and get goals and assists and make sure that I make the World Cup team. Was a big priority for me. And so I was just like, I don't care if I don't know anything about this city. I know that Vlatko's, has a good reputation and good players on the team. And so, my husband, Dave, was just like, okay, I'm not going to move to Kansas City, but I'll come visit as much as I can. And we'll obviously work it out. And at that point, like of my career, it's like, that things are just temporary, right? So I was very much just going for the season and just going for the football. And yeah, a bit of a fresh start. Boston was a cool I don't want to disrespect the Midwest, but like Boston was like this cool city. I would go to the Red Sox games, all this stuff, but the football wasn't good. It was like crazy town over there. It was like just not a stable, healthy environment. So I just opted for normality and a good environment, a good, healthy environment.
Yeah, I get that. There's like a million different ways I can go with this, but you touched on Vlatko there a lot, Vlatko Andonovski a lot, because he was coach of the year in the NWSL previously with FC Kansas City. He goes on to win it in 2014 and 2015 with you on the squad there. And now he's back in Kansas City. And looking at kind of his character arc from the early days of NWSL to now 2024 being back in the league, how have you seen him evolve as a coach?
Oh, big time. It's been a real honor, I think, to play under Vlatko Andonovski and now to be sort of, I would say, his friend and somewhat of a peer now, because I think that he's a good character. He's a good character. And early days, FCKC, I remember asking, I'm like, who's this Macedonian coaching staff that you guys have? He was very unknown, very like kind of random. And Becky and Nicole Barnhart and all of those guys and Lauren Holiday were like, no, we like Vlatko. Like he's solid. He's good. Training sessions are good. Knows the game. Nice man. And so I remember being like, I was a little judgy on this like Macedonian coaching staff that hadn't really worked with women's football and had been coaching indoor in Kansas City. I was a little skeptical, but then very quickly he started to get a very good reputation from the players, and that obviously spreads throughout the league. But so I think early days he was kind of like this unknown. Then he became very established and respected, and he freaking went for it. Anybody that is gutsy enough to follow up what Jill Ellis did with the national team was incredible. I mean, back-to-back World Cup wins, right? So it's a big post. It's a big spot for any coach to take on. And I give Vlatko a ton of credit for taking on a big challenge. And that's, win or bust, as we know with the U.S. women's national team. And he came away with, a bronze medal at the Olympics and then an early exit from the World Cup. So that was, I'm sure, super difficult, but he's never shied from just challenging things. And I appreciate that. And I know that, for instance, I have a radio show called Played In. And earlier in the season, I said, Vlatko, please come on and talk about your time with the national team, talk about now transitioning back to the NWSL. And he respectfully answered. He was just like, I'll talk after the season. I am so head down focused on, and he didn't say that it's a personal vendetta, right? Or a personal, what's the word? I guess
Like vengeance almost?
Yeah, a vengeance on like making things right and like clearing his name, sort of. He
Yeah.
sort of alluded to that. And so he's definitely on a mission to like be back on the winning side because, you know, he fell short with the U.S. women's national team, but he is a very, very good coach. And so in terms of his growth, I would definitely say, yeah, like early days, he didn't know how to like deal with women. He didn't know how to deal with leaders. I remember him and Lauren Holiday like butted heads a lot. And I think that he has learned to like lean on his leaders and lean on, you know, to have a couple people in your corner. I know that he did that with Megan Rapinoe at his time at Seattle. And he had a big roster of characters with the U.S. women's national team that I know that he tried to manage. And so I think that he's really, really grown in that regard. One thing that's different about him this season is his like willingness to go full throttle offense and like bleed a lot of goals, because historically with Kansas City, like we were so stingy to get scored on, probably because we didn't have like Showinga, like, you know, the game. So yeah, so I would say that has like, basically I'm saying that like I think he's less conservative as a manager and more willing to kind of go for it, because listen, like he fell short, right, at the World Cup and a lot of criticism, and like he's still here, he's still alive. He like failed and got back up, and I think that that's sort of like failure, I guess, just like shows any coach that like, yeah, that
They're okay conceding when you're scoring 46 goals already. Like,
yeah.
Okay, but
Yeah, the score lines are bananas. This is so unlike Vlatko, to be honest.
Insane.
I love that you mentioned maybe some of the change, perhaps maybe like of coaching principles then versus now, how we're seeing some of him lean into a little bit of the full throttle. Because bringing it back to the 2015 championship, one of the things that has stood out for me in going back down memory lane with some of these games is the type of soccer that we see in the early eras of NWSL. There's a level of physicality that is still here presently in the league, but it's different. There was almost like an over reliance on it at times, and it sort of felt like in this version of the championship final, which was a sequel to 2014, where Seattle and Kansas City went head to head. This one felt like there were definitely some moments of fisticuffs and getting close up and personal. Folks getting pushed off the ball. There's a moment in the game there where you all, in my opinion, correctly react to a non-penalty call on Tim Rack with a challenge there. Can you maybe speak a little bit to just some of the evolution of soccer, just the game in NWSL from this championship final to maybe how you've seen it grow to today's game?
Yeah, well, I think back in the day, like back then, like Laura Harvey and Vlatko were going punch to punch. Like they were the two big dogs in the NWSL, and our teams, I think both seasons were you know, leading the table in a lot of different categories. So and they were a really strong team. So I think that we out of respect just like wanted to be like number one, right? And Pino, we all know that Pino knew how to get under everybody's skin, like walking back to the mid-stripe like a turtle after scoring. Like she took so long to walk back to the mid-stripe. He just understands the gamesmanship. And then on the other side, like if she needs to speed up the game, we've all seen Pino like whipping a throw in before anybody else is set. Like she just understood the game and she understood the entertainment behind it. So I think yeah, we were ready for battle, but they definitely had a couple of characters that were able to get under their skin if we allowed them. In terms of the level of play, yeah, I definitely think, you know, the game has obviously evolved, like something like playing out on goal kicks, right? Like we didn't really do that before because it was a FIFA rule. Like you couldn't have a teammate receive the ball in the box, right? So that has, I think, really changed the game in terms of an obsession with possession, an obsession with build-up play, less reliance on going long on goal kicks, for instance, and then like a little bit of the scrap of first and second balls, and then just kind of things like that, I think elevate the bite in the game when the ball's in the air a lot. So of course, like the ball's probably not in the air as much these days, and the pass count is higher and things like that. I think that a lot of teams are willing to sit back and play counterattack football and respect the other team's build out. I'm still like kind of a fan of just blitzing and like sprinting at the back. And, for 4 times out of 5, they'll break the pressure and we'll have to deal with that. But the 1 time out of 5 that it works is super dangerous. So if I was a coach in the NWSL, I would still be pressing high up the field with everybody and just going for the throat. But I'm not. And
be careful what you joke about. There's a couple open positions right now that people are going to be hearing this and giving you calls.
Okay. Well, all the GMs that are like, yeah, I want to play a high press team too. Like, call me, I guess.
Absolutely. Give the plug. Give the plug.
But I think that has changed with Vlatko as well. Like, he's down for a quick counterattack now. And again, like you have Chawinga on your team, like you do that. You play to your strengths. Yeah.
One of a big difference now, right, in football is that a lot of players play a lot of different positions, whether it's left side, right side. I'm recalling back to the 2015 NWSL Championship. You were on the right wing and like absolutely dominating, crushing it, getting end line, sending crosses in, cutting it back, playing short. But the goal comes when you're on the left. There's like 2 minutes in this match when you're on the left wing. How did you end up over there?
I remember Vlatko got this question in an interview after, and he said that he was like to be like a tactical wizard, that he meant to do it. But I think, as any winger knows, like sometimes if you're just not feeling the vibe, like getting the love, getting the goals, connecting on things, you just kind of mix it up and head to the other side, just kind of see a different matchup. And I believe that they just made a substitute.
There was an
on that left-hand side. So I think I kind of like smelled blood a little bit, and I was just like, I'm just going to try on the left for a little while. And I forget if it was Temrek or who it would have been on that side, but we just kind of organically were able to switch sides. But it was more out of just like, I'm a little bit of an ADD brain, and I probably just wanted to like spice it up and try a different opponent and a different angle and things like that. But I was able to get down to that left-hand side and float one in to A-Rod, like I said. Yeah, no, it was chef's kiss. It was chef's kiss. That was we were very, very, very pumped after that game, of course, because I think everybody says like, okay, they did it once. Can they do it again? And to win back-to-back in the NWSL is really hard. You guys might know how many teams have done it. We did it with North Carolina, but I don't think it's been done too many times. Maybe Portland also went back-to-back. But it's hard. It's really, really, really challenging. So I know that Vlatko is thrilled, and I can't claim to have done it twice in a row because I wasn't on their team the first year, but to be able to help them to their second year. And Vlatko he tells a funny story that after their first win, they, it wasn't so glitzy and glamoury. They just went to Buffalo Wild Wings after the game, and I guess Vlatko was, of course, like talking to his GM, this guy named Hugh Williams, who's my homie now, like we stay in touch. And they said like, okay, we've won once. How are we going to do it again? That was me trying to do Vlatko.
I love it. Over a plate of like spicy garlic. I love that. Like
they're at Buffalo Wild Wings, and they get kind of word that like I was looking for a new team, essentially, literally when they're at Buffalo Wild Wings. And he shows the phone to like Hugh Williams and was like, we need Heyo. Heyo's going to be the difference so we can get back here again. And if I was able to contribute with that, I'm pretty proud of it. Good memories. Thank you for bringing me down.
I love it. Thank you to B-Dubs for making it.
Club and country for the win. That was good stuff.
Love it.
Heather, we are at 21 minutes. Do you have to go? We'll wrap up. If not, can we ask you one or two more?
Sure. Just, yeah, if you could just make it quick.
We'll be really quick. Don't worry.
Great.
Okay. Okay, what were we just talking about? Buffalo Wild Wings. Sorry, I was like trying to think. Okay, Heyo. You said that about yourself. You call yourself Heyo. There's some nicknames out there for you. Gail, Gayo, Heyo. How'd you get these? I gotta ask.
Okay. Well, to be clear, Gayo is not like really a public nickname. I wouldn't say Heyo is, and then, we're all a little gay sometimes. Some people are gay a lot of the time. So I don't know. Gayo is just what my friends tell me when I'm acting a little gay. But Heyo is actually my initials, Heather Ann O'Reilly. And that started as like back in the day with AOL screen names. Soccer HAO was my name.
Oh,
and I had a coach that just kept calling me Heyo. And then it just kind of became my soccer nickname. I wouldn't say that like my husband calls me Heyo or like my parents, but people in soccer definitely do. And then of course,
I love it.
And then, actually what happened with Gayo was, Pino and Lori Lindsay, they would all like just call me Gayo if I was wearing like a gayer outfit or something like that.
You walked out with your best boots and flannel one day.
Yeah, exactly. If I was wearing my flannel, they'd be like, "What's up, Gayo?" I'm like, "Hi." So one time when we were playing for Pia Sundhage, they were like, "Pia, when you introduce the teams, we were playing 11-a-side, can you introduce Heyo as Gayo?" And she was like, "Yeah, ha ha ha." Like, okay, I'll do it. And so the girls were so excited as the teams were being announced. And then Pia, I think, got like cold feet or like forgot what she was doing and pronounced it Gow.
Yep.
And then,
yep.
And then everybody, wait, who's Gow?
Yep.
and then there was like this Chinese goalkeeper back in the day that was named like Gao something. And then somebody from the back was like, "Who's Gao?" And then somebody's like, "Isn't that the Chinese goalkeeper?" And then Lori and Pino were just like, "Oh my gosh, this is all
the prank went south, but somehow got better."
And then here's me just being like, "Wait, what team am I on?"
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Which side do I go to? Am I dark?
Speaking of
that was that, but
yeah.
That's where that one was born. Yeah.
Speaking of like what team you're on, we started this episode talking about so many of your accomplishments, which was why we had to nominate you to our Hall of Legends. So welcome and thank you once again. But you've won so much stuff, and you've also been a part of so many teams. And part of why we also were so excited to nominate you to the A3 Hall was that we thought we were gonna get to see you in an NWSL game one more time. Could you maybe sort of to close out the interview, could you talk about how signing a one-day contract with Gotham came to light, and why did it fall just short for you?
Yeah, what a bust. Okay, so here's the whole story. So I'm literally on a family vacation at the beach in North Carolina. And my husband, Dave, and I were like, "All right, clear your schedule for the week. Like, let's try to be off screen." We have two little sons, William and Jack. So obviously just try not to do any work stuff. But then I get a call, actually a text from Gotham, the Gotham operations person, saying basically, long story short, because we can't play our Olympians, there was a certain window of time after the Olympics that they couldn't play them, and they were riddled with injury. So they were essentially just super thin for this friendly match that was scheduled against Chelsea. They're like, "Heather," and I'm good friends with Yael Averbush. She knows that I'm always like reasonably fit.
Call back to that 2015 NWSL championship. She was on the game.
Oh yeah, she was there. So listen, I play pickup with like guys in Chapel Hill like a couple times a week. I'm running a marathon this weekend. Like, I'm always active and reasonably fit and ready to go. Like, I love football. Some people hang up their boots and like truly hang them up. Like, I hang them up and I pick them up like the next week. Like, I've always said I'm a footballer, like always. Like, it's not like closing the chapter was like, I struggled with this for a while. At first I was just like, yeah, I got to close this chapter. And then I'm just like, no, I'm not going to close the chapter. I am a footballer. I'm just not a professional footballer anymore, but I'll always be a footballer. And I think that was a real important nuanced change that I made like after retirement, because obviously we all have our like identity issues that we deal with. Anyway, so yeah, Elle knows that I'm always a footballer. Like I'm always going to be down to throw the boots on and play. Obviously, 39 might not have the speed and explosion that I have anymore, but you know, I was capable enough that Gotham called me up to fill out their bench against Chelsea. And Dave was like kind of like irritated because he's like, I thought this was family vacation. How many times? This is what people say, like, how many times are you going to retire? And I'm like, it doesn't compute in my head because I'm a footballer. So I'm like, well, I'm always a footballer. So I don't know what you want me to say. But in terms of come back to the NWSL, I was ready to do it. So, okay, they called me up and they're like, we need you here for the game. It's in 48 hours. The weather that time of the summer was terrible on the East Coast.
Storms and everything.
Storms, I'm battling. So we're booking flights. Things are getting canceled. I'm thinking I'm not going to be able to make it. Then I figure out how to make it. I like do this heroic drive to Raleigh, get on this flight, have to get the flight to like JFK, take a car from JFK. It's literally like an episode of Amazing Race.
I'm just a marathon in and of itself.
Wild.
Yeah. And they're like, we need you to take a blood test and an EKG before getting to the stadium. When you get to the stadium, you'll do your concussion protocol. And then like literally I was like pressing it against game time. And I was like, okay, so I'm shuffling around all these doctor's appointments. And then unfortunately, Gotham announces that I'm going to be playing. My phone is blowing up. It's like hilarious. I'm like, yeah, she's back, baby. Yeah. And then I get my blood drawn, have to go to this other place for my heart test. And as a lot of athletes are aware of, sometimes your heart test just comes back a little bit funky. You know, obviously this is not something to like joke about, but it's also not something that I'm like overly concerned about because this has happened before. Like I just have like an arrhythmia or an irregular heartbeat. And a lot of athletes have this because you like literally change the shape of your heart after like decades of like hard fitness. And so I basically got like red flagged that my result came up funny. And if I had more time, like one more day, I would have been able to get the proper like echocardiogram that they like needed. But to their credit, like they took it very seriously and they were like, we're sorry, we're not going to allow you to play. And I was like, listen, I think I'm going to play 5 minutes. Maybe. Actually, Juan Carlos Amaro said that he was thinking more like 30. But anyways, so then they got the news that they weren't going to like pass me. So literally I go to the stadium. Everybody was like so pumped. And I'm like, yeah, bad news. I didn't pass the heart test. And they're like, oh man. I mean, Juan Carlos Amaros was so sweet because he was like, I'm sure he was disappointed because now that was the whole point of me coming. Right. Yeah. And so then they had to like play some players that probably were a little bit injured or whatever. But they had the jersey made up for me. I sat in the pregame that like, they were like, no, just sit and listen to the pregame. And everybody was kind of like womp, womp, like a little bit. And I stayed there for the match. I wanted to catch up with like
everyone's hopes were so high to see you return.
It was an epic fail. It was an epic fail.
It wasn't a fail.
They had a game in October that they said for me to be ready for.
There you go.
Let's go. Absolutely. Well, Heather, because of all of that happened at Attacking Third, we have a Hall of Legends. And when you made the thing and then you didn't make the team and this and that, we still named you as our first ever inductee into the A3 Hall of Legends. So I have an honorary trophy for you.
Oh, I love that.
Congratulations on being inducted into the Attacking Third Hall of Legends.
Thank you. I'm really honored to be the first. The first? Are you guys sure about that?
The first ever. First ever. Congratulations.
Okay, but you could like choose like Mia Hamm and you could choose like
we chose you.
I mean,
honestly, the Gotham game might have done it for us. We were kind of like, there's no way.
So excited to come out of retirement, even though you're never retired as a
You're
football.
You're
not retired.
Now you know.
Heather, thank you so much for this. We love diving deep into the 2015 NWSL Final with you, hearing about everything that you're up to. You talked about how you're running a marathon this weekend. So congrats. Good luck. You're absolutely going to crush it.
Thank you.
You touched on Played In, a radio show you host with Lori Lindsay, but what else are you up to these days? Where can people find you, follow you, give us all the plugs?
Yeah. So I'm doing a variety of things right now. Obviously, I'm a mom of 2, so that takes up a little bit of mental energy. And I've also split some time doing some coaching stuff. But right now, I have a new job as the head of women's football for Como 1907, which is a club in Lake Como. So a beautiful part of the world that's looking to make a historic rise to Serie A. Right now we're in the 4th division. And so I was tasked with the immense challenge, but opportunity to rise from the depths of 4th division Italian women's football to be in Serie A. They've just done this on the men's side. Cesc Fabregas is the coach of the men's team. They're looking to do something very similar on the women's side. So I'm spending a lot of time and energy trying to build up this team. So
how's your Italiano?
I just had my second Italian lesson. Mi chiamo Heather.
Love it.
Geo. Gioco calcio. I play soccer.
Oh, I love it. Oh,
yeah,
Heather,
mangia pizza.
There you go.
Pizza, yes.
Don't we all?
That one.
See.
Thank you so much. Congrats on that. Congrats on everything. Listen to her on Played In Sirius XM. That's where people can find you.
Yep. 157, channel 157 on Monday nights. And also you can listen on the app all the time. But yes, thanks for that plug there, Lisa.
Of course. Follow her on Instagram, Twitter at Heather O'Reilly. Stay in touch. Cheer for her as she eventually will make her return, signing with the club one day. I know it. It's in your future.
We feel it.
Thank you so much, Heather. This was awesome. Don't go anywhere, guys. We've got plenty more Attacking Third right after this. Hey, welcome back to Attacking Third. Sandra and Lisa here. Heather, thank you so much again for that incredible interview. If you want to listen to it, hear it again, it's on our podcast feeds. It is on YouTube, the entire thing. Please go listen to it. It's so good. She takes us down memory lane, Sandra, but she also takes us perfectly into our next segment, the A3 Hall of Legends. We have inducted a few people so far. Heather O'Reilly was our first one ever, actually, because of the signing with Gotham and then not being able to play back in August during the friendly against Chelsea. But now, on the end of September, Sandra, we are inducting head coach Vlatko Andonovski into our Hall of Legends. The A3 Hall of Legends is our home where we get to recognize all the great players, coaches, teams, fan bases, and significant moments that have occurred both on and off the field in regards to women's football. And Vlatko Andonovski is a perfect one to induct. He is from North Macedonia. He played professional soccer. He was a central defender. He has made his way in and around the sport in every different aspect, from indoor soccer to men's side to youth programs to women's programs. Currently, he is the head coach at Kansas City Current in Kansas City. He was the former U.S. Women's National Team head coach, 2-time NWSL Coach of the Year in 2013 and 2019. He won the CONCACAF W Championship with the U.S. and Olympic bronze at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Sandra, we thought it was a perfect inductee into our A3 Hall of Fame.
Look, this was the time to do it. We rolled out Hall of Legends. We have a beautiful trophy to show people, when they win it now. And it just felt right. The timing was right. We're doing this incredible segment where we're recapping every single NWSL championship in the build-up to the 2024 final in Kansas City that will kick off on November 11th. And we just did 2 back-to-back episodes where we talked about Seattle going up against Kansas City. and Andonovski walked away with not one, but two of those titles. The first head coach to ever win back-to-back titles in this league. Was difficult to do it then, probably even more difficult to do something like that now in this current decade of NWSL. But he has become one of the faces of this league when it comes to perhaps maybe showing what it means or looks like to be a head coach in this league. I think you have to take it from the players themselves, and to sort of hear the interview with Heather O'Reilly just now and how she orchestrated a trade to kind of go to a different environment at that stage in her career and got feedback from her other teammates about the coaching staff. And that is ultimately what kind of sealed the deal for her to kind of say, let's do this and let's ball. I think says a lot about him as a coach and a person.
Absolutely. And when you think about Vlatko Andonovski's career, just to give everyone a bit of a timeline, he played professionally as a center back. And that's why perhaps Heather touched on it. He was so big on defense and not conceding goals. And he really transitioned his playing time through to as how he was as a coach in putting an emphasis on defense first. So as a player, he played in major indoor soccer leagues. He was an MVP. He was Defender of the Year. He was named Most Improved Player of the Year, and he was a 2-time All-Star. Then as a coach, he was named Major Indoor Soccer League Coach of the Year. With youth programs, he was a 4-time Missouri State champion. He was a youth national champion. He was a Major Indoor Soccer League champion, NWSL championship in 2014 and 2015, 4-time She Believes Cup champion, Olympic bronze medal, W championship, 2-time NWSL Coach of the Year. I mean, he's done it all. And when you look specifically at women's football, it's interesting to hear Heather kind of harp on, he's an indoor soccer league coach. He's only doing this. He's from North Macedonia. What does he know? And he came into FC Kansas City. He was there from 2013 to 2017 and won 2 times Coach of the Year. And he also won 2 championships during that run. He then spent time in Seattle with Reign FC. He was there from 18 to 19. And then, of course, his stint with the U.S. Women's National Team. And now he's back in Kansas City, where he calls home with his family, his wife, and they have 3 children. They all live in Kansas City. He is now back there where he spent a lot of his career. But his stint in Reign in Seattle was from 18 and 19. And good friend of the show, one of our coworkers, Sandra, Darian Jenkins, she played under Vlatko Andonovski in Seattle. And she's talked about a number of different times on the show how he was such a tactical coach and taught her so much about the game. And there was always an emphasis on defense, but he's just done a really good job of creating well-rounded teams. And say what you want about his time at the international level, that's an incredibly hard job to do. And as a club coach, you get to be with these players, craft your team around these players, bring in whoever you want to make the roster exactly how you see fit. And that's what we've seen Vlatko Andonovski do this year with Kansas City, bringing in Shawinga, bringing in Bia Zanerato, putting players like Lola Bonta, Dabinia in great positions to succeed and finding success on the pitch. And that's why we are inducting head coach of Kansas City Curry, Vlatko Andonovski, into the A3 Hall of Fame. Congrats, Vlatko.
Where's the trophy? Where's the ice bucket?
My ice bucket is put away. It's put away. I took the sticker off of it. It was embarrassing.
Oh, no.
We will get a better trophy for A3 Hall of Legends. I have no doubt about it. Congrats, Vlatko Andonovski. Don't go anywhere, guys. We've got our In Case You Missed It segment catching you up on all the news and notes that have happened. Stick with us. Hey everyone, welcome back to Attacking Third. It's our In Case You Missed It segment, filling you in on everything around the world of women's football that maybe you've missed or we haven't had a chance to talk about yet. Big news coming out of U.S. soccer. Twila Kilgore, the former U.S. Women's National Team interim head coach and assistant coach, has announced that she is departing U.S. Soccer to pursue some other coaching opportunities. This is, Sandra, an absolute legend. She came into an impossible position after U.S. Soccer said goodbye to Vlatko Andonovski, but before they even hired and could welcome in Emma Hayes as the new U.S. Women's National Team head coach, they tasked Twila Kilgore with filling this gap as an interim and taking them through all of these different scenarios to bring new players into the team. And she was incredibly successful. So she's leaving U.S. Soccer, but she's a top-notch head coach. Where do you want to see her going next, Sandra?
I think like an obvious answer is that multiple NWSL clubs would probably want to at least get an interview with her. But I would imagine if an announcement like this is made, it's already because perhaps a decision has been made. And while I think it's really easy to say like, sweet, she can have the pick of almost any NWSL club if she wants at this point, I don't think it's unfair to maybe say, hey, her time with the U.S. Women's National Team could maybe also lead to other opportunities on the international scale. So as much as I would love to see what that would look like in Canada with Kilgore to maybe try to pivot there, I just don't think the money is there with Canada Soccer, if I'm being frank. And I think honestly, with some things that I've heard around the league at this point, I'm not too sure if maybe some of the more obvious NWSL clubs are that avenue. I don't think it's going to be San Diego. I don't think it's going to be Utah. I just, things that I've heard, I'm just kind of like, what does it all mean? But I like with her tweet and her post on social media where she says, that she's thankful for everything, but she's going to take a little bit of time before making that next step, whatever that next step is.
So no Sandra bombs for us today?
Not today, guys. Sorry.
Dang. Okay, well, we'll keep you updated, of course, what happens with Twila Kilgore, but she will be gobbled up very soon. I have no doubt about it. Any program, club team internationally would be happy to have her. And it's not easy to be an international coach. So that's where I'd like to see her go, stay international, stay doing a really hard job, but doing it very well. In the NWSL, we had Monday night action. Angel City hosting Portland Thorns. Portland Thorns have struggled coming into this match. Both teams on a bit of a skid scoring-wise and not being able to pick up wins in the league. Ultimately, it ends in a 2-2 draw, so meaning that Portland stretches their winless streak even farther. They haven't won since July 5th. Insane, but 4 goals throughout this match. It started with Alyssa Thompson in the 10th minute, her 5th goal in 5 games. And then Portland had huge responses in the second half. 49th minute from Morgan Weaver, 64th minute from Olivia Moultrie. And then Claire Emsley for Angel City closes out the scoring in the 76th minute. So Portland Thorns stay in 7th place in the standings, just 3 points above the playoff line. Angel City in 10th, 3 points below the playoff line. We'll preview the weekend of NWSL matches in tomorrow's episode. For the youth program, the U.S. Women's Youth National Team U20 scores a dramatic 119th minute game-winning goal to defeat the Netherlands 2-1 and finish 3rd in the 2024 U20 Women's World Cup. Congratulations to all of these players on their incredible run, ultimately getting it done. Some other big news, forward with Utah Royals, Paige Monaghan played in her 100th NWSL regular season match that happened last Sunday when Utah took on Gotham. And we don't always honor players and shout them out when they get their 100th game. But Sandra, Paige Monaghan became the 100th different player to record 100 appearances in the NWSL. So 2 claps for Paige Monaghan on 100 games and becoming the 100th player to do it. Speaking of Utah, goalkeeper Mandy Hott made her club record 9 saves this past weekend against her former club, Gotham FC, in a 1-0 loss for Utah. And then big news out of our California team, Sandra. Bay FC announced plans to build a permanent world-class training facility in partnership with the city and the county of San Francisco. They say that it's going to be a permanent training facility located on Treasure Island. It's going to feature 3 training fields, dedicated sporting operations facilities, top-of-the-line resources, spaces for players needed to perform at the highest level. Pretty cool to see that.
Massive, 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 massive.
Absolutely. I feel like I ran through those, but that's because we got to go. We got more things to talk about, more things to do. That was our In Case You Missed It segment. And this, of course, was our Wednesday Attacking Third. Tomorrow for Attacking Third, we will be back here live, youtube.com at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're going to preview the upcoming action in the NWSL and the Women's Super League that's happening over in England. And then we're going to take a focused look at the Shield race, the playoff push in the NWSL, everything. Don't forget to vote for us in the Football Content Awards for the best in women's football. Vote Attacking Third. You can find the link on socials at Attacking Third or in the podcast description. Thanks, everyone, so much for joining us. If you're with us live on YouTube, thanks for your comments and your questions. We do a poll about whose kits is the best. Sandra, you won 75% today. I only got 25% of the votes. What, you guys don't like Neely Martin goalkeeper kit? Next week.
Oh, don't make it personal. They're both winners in my book.
I'll get you next week. Thanks, everyone, so much for joining us. Make sure you follow Attacking Third wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a 5-star rating and review. We're also available at youtube.com/Attacking Third, and you can watch us on CBS Sports Golazo Network. For Mark and Sandra, I'm Lisa. This was Attacking Third.